Yes, friends, hope all is well with you. Today we are going to talk about three major types of leaderships and then what could be one of leadership triad, one characteristics that we can develop that can really enhance our lives and even lives of others around us. So first of all, I look at three categories of leadership. And of course, there are many books written on leadership and leadership types and different characteristics, but I'm really going to take a very holistic approach um, and a very, I'll say, easy approach that can be understood to a common student like me. So I would say I categorize that in three buckets. Number one is executional leadership. People who are on the execution side of things. And oh, by the way, nature has made us all very different, as we know. This is nothing new. But, every single one of us have different capabilities. We have different personality type and different capabilities. And everybody is not good on everything, but everybody is really, really good on something. So if we really do that something that we are good at, then we actually have more fun and our results become much, much better. So there are three types of leadership, and one type is execution leadership. So, and the other one is, thought-provoking leadership. And the last one is really spiritual leadership. So I take these three main categories. Now, of course, if you have a very, very thoughtful person, but that doesn't mean that person would also be very good in, execution. And that's the reason you see many thought leaders and innovators, they really miserably fail in execution because that's not their, forte. Their forte is innovation, creation, thoughtfulness. So hence they really don't do very well in execution. But then there are some others who are amazing in execution, but then they don't really have lots of time or focus or even abilities to create and innovate. So they take somebody's work and then convert it into execution and they do extremely well. And then there are others who really don't care for any kind of results. They just focused on connecting themselves with the higher being and creating a moral solution. And I call them spiritual leaders. So these are the three types. And sometimes, these boundaries intermingle. People like to learn from, one and another. And that's good. There's nothing wrong with it. And that's the reason, as you see, as the time goes by and people go through different experiences, they end up actually developing, each type a little bit in their lives. And of course, the best leader would be who actually would master in all these kinds. It's not probably this lifetime is not enough to master in every single type of leadership, but one should try. There are people, especially prophets and those people who have brought change in society. They actually have, a lot of these triads and different kind of leadership qualities in them. That people, especially prophets, they're spiritual in nature, but they're also very thought-provoking, and some of them have brought very good sustainable change, and then hence they're best executor as well. So, it all depends on what we really work on. So those, those leaders who are execution in nature, they are very technical and tactical focus. Whereas the thought leaders are very strategic and technical focus. And whereas the spiritual leaders are really very strategic and moral focus. They don't look at the material things. They look at the immaterial change, more of, having a much broader vision and connectivity with the higher being and changing yourself and thinking bigger than life. I'm not saying whoever is really best or whoever is really better than the other. It all depends on what job you're in. And then it really depends on how much you focus and try to develop whatever your liking and focus is. It's good to have, like I said, all of them, but it really depends on your focus and your likability and your what you like to achieve in life. And whatever you want to achieve in life, if you focus on it, believe me, you can get that. And if you are execution leader, you could also be an innovator, a thought leader as well, if you put focus. You could also be spiritual if you focus. And honestly, in my opinion, if you are all three in one, there's nothing like it. That's the great leader. So how do we really become great leader? Lots of books, lots of material, lot of different characteristics people talk about. People like, Stephen Covey and, Good to Great, and all those books talk about, different type of characteristics, how to become a thought leader and how to really become a good execution leader and how to really become a spiritual leader. But there are some common characteristics which everybody talks about, and I think which are needed for any kind of successful leadership. So we're going to talk about those, and let's talk very quickly today about humility. How does humility help us become better execution, thought, or spiritual leader? Because really, if you are not humble and if you don't have the humility, then you do not really unveil your own potential. And let me give you some references. That there was a study done in 2013 by Owens, Johnson, and Mitchell in University of Michigan. And they basically said, express humility in organization, implication for performance, teams, and leadership. And it was published in the Organization Science Journal. So basically what it talks about, and then there is another study, which is Fisher et al. Study in 2025. And that study really talk about, how humility help you scientifically, open up your own potential. That basically your own brain functions don't work properly if you do not practice humility. You have lots of blind spots. You do not have the right analytical capability, and hence you don't really see lots of hidden gorillas which are all around you. And I'm sure you can all take those vision impairment test where you see the hidden gorilla but you don't see it. So there are many small tests which you can really watch those videos, and you'll see that how you miss those things. You miss those things because you are focused on your strengths and your sometime, self-promotion, and your boasting of yourself instead of really being humble. So humility really help you unveil your brain functionality and your heart functionality. It's really the brain and heart both that really help you, break your barrier and improve your capabilities. Now let's talk about some of the spiritual texts. Quran, for example, talk about the humility, and Quran says, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. It is the chapter 25th and verse 63, 25, 63, where, and servants of the Most, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ, the people of the merciful. So God himself, presenting himself as a merciful. God has different characteristics, and we have those characteristics as well. And one of his characteristics is Rahman. That's his very common name, which is used in, especially by Muslim, by saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I begin with the name of Allah, the Creator, who's most merciful, Rahman Rahim, and who's most gracious, most merciful. So being merciful is God's one of very common characteristics. And he wants us to become merciful too. Now, more merciful we become, better connectivity we have, and better humility we will have. So over here, God is saying, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ, Rahman's people, Rahman's servants. I mean, the word ibad is so beautiful. When God loves somebody, he used the word abd for that person. Abd is really not translated very well in English. And we say servant. It's not really servant. It's basically someone who loves someone and follow that one in the love, in the spirit of love. And so وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. And then God is saying, my people are those who walk on earth with humility. And then in another place, God says, the verse says, وَلَا تَمْشِ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرْحًا. Do not walk on earth boosting. إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرَقْ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلَغْ الْجِبَالَ طَوْلًا. إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرَقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلَغَ الْجِبَالَ طَوْلًا. And God is saying, don't walk on earth with such pride. Can you really tear it apart when you're walking? What are you going to do? If you walk on earth and you walk like you're a macho man, can you tear it apart? You're not taller than mountains. And why God is giving this example, taller than mountains, is that, if you're a hiker, because I like to hike sometime, and when you go hiking, you really get humble. You see how little you are in a bigger scheme of things, but also it will tire you up. No matter how good of a hiker you are, but it really challenges you. You see that how tall the mountain is and how small you are and how much effort is required. Yeah, you feel really good when you really go to the peak, but if it doesn't humble you, then I don't know what can humble you. And God is giving this example on purpose, that you're not really tall and strong like mountain. Who are you? Look at my earth. This earth is really not even a dot. If you take 1 grain of salt or 1 grain of sand, and then if you take in the example of this our planet in our in the solar system, we are 1 grain, and then the whole solar system maybe 1 room, and the whole Milky Way galaxy is maybe like a USA, and Milky Way galaxy is really in the whole known galaxies is like maybe this whole earth, and yet this is only 1 galaxy, is only 1 universe, and there are multiverses we know now. So I mean, in a bigger scheme of things, who are we? We are not even a grain of sand, because the whole earth is, in that example, is a grain of sand. And we are nothing. And this life is nothing. And we're being so macho man and talking about ourselves. When you talk that big, then you do not look at the other people's, participation and their potential. And when you are humble and when you have humility, then you look at others, how important they are in your success, and you can increase their potential. And now this is exactly another way to look at it, is that when you have what you call it, like an inertia A lot of time in leaders' life, no matter how good of a leader you are, you get stuck. You feel like nothing is moving. So really, to move things around, the very first thing we have to believe is that it's doable. I mean, it's doable. It's going to happen. And the very first thing, you go to any psychotherapist or psychologist or anybody, if you feel that you are stuck, if you go into a dark room and started really looking at all of your failures, it's not going to help. But if you very first believe that it is going to happen, then that is the first step in breaking the inertia. And then the other thing is, if you're going to do the right thing, if the results don't even come as quickly as you have planned out, it's okay, because you're doing the right thing. It's going to help some others. And the last thing is, building a plan and executing the plan one step at a time. So really, when you are humble, then you can even break your own inertia, and you can, help others, and that will help you achieve your goals. Now, we gave the example of Quran, so it will be really wise to give example of what Bible says. Bible says in Micah 6:8, He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord acquire of you, to act justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with your God. It's very important. Also, Proverb 27:2, let someone else praise you and not your own mouth, an outsider and not your own lips. So what happens nowadays is unfortunate. A lot of time you see execution leaders, and most of head of the states are even very executional. They should be executional, but they also need to build some thoughtfulness and some spiritualness, because at the end of the day, bigger matters don't get resolved just by execution, but by thinking big and thinking long-term and spiritual, moral. Not every solution is in dollars and cents. I mean, take an example of today, what's going on in the world, that we thought that we could just resolve the issue, just by bombing and just by threatening. Look what's going on. We got ourselves in a bigger trouble. And then our leaders, you see over and over, praising themselves, boosting themselves instead of other, and keep getting more and more in trouble. And I mean, you see the example of China. For example, Chinese, kudos to them that they have a culture where they don't really talk much, but they execute more. And their action speaks louder. Whereas, unfortunately, our actions are speaking less. Our words are more louder. What we need to do is we need to really let our actions lead and our humility lead our way, if we really want the potential of the word and potential of our teams come out to help us and give us the success we need. May God help us all. Thank you very much.